All right. Hello. Welcome to the Fear Free Human Coaching Show. My name is Zen Cryer DeBrook, and we are here to transform your life using your internal guidance system. It's so funny. My voice is changing because I'm going through menopause, which I didn't know was a thing. And so it's really weird to hear my voice when I start talking. Anyways, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the show today. I have, this is a show that's basically for coaching. If you'd like to get more information on how to be a part of the actual coaching, it is a subscription-based model that is incredibly affordable. You can go to befearfreenow.com. As part of the membership, there's two different levels that you can choose from. And as part of that membership, you get to be on this show and get your coaching questions answered about how to do life better. Hi, Ruth. Ruth is here. I love it. Hello, Ruth. She is one of my favorite students. I have a lot of favorite students, but Ruth, she's always special to dear and dear to my heart. Okay, so today I want to talk to you about, as we're waiting for someone to show up to get coaching, I want to talk to you about why it can be so hard to do life well, okay? And how we get created and the struggles that we have in our lives, where do they come from? So the first thing that I want to let you know is that between the ages of 0 and 7, and you probably have heard this before. It's like, telling you this, why, yes, I know this end, but this is a different way that I want you to look at it today. Between the ages of 0 and 7, most of your trauma and your stress, anxiety, worries, your fears, your overwhelm responses, your guilt, okay, what frustrates you, what irritates you, what you procrastinate on, all of these different things get programmed in between the ages of 0 and 7 as you, as this young life form, begin to suck up all of the things you're seeing in the world around you. Now, when something happens that frightens you, okay, let's say your mom and dad fight, you create a stress response, okay, a defense is what I call it, to that trauma. And each of us gets coded into us different ways of handling it. Maybe it was to go hide under your bed and fall asleep. And now when you face big stress, you feel like going home and hiding out and taking a nap, right? Or maybe it is that you would try to fix the problem that is going on in your life, okay, by getting in there and try to breaking up the fight. Or maybe it's that you would go and try to clean the house, right? And make everybody happy by being the good kid. So we have these stress defenses and we don't realize that we're doing them. In fact, we kind of see them as our own personality. Well, what I want to let you know is that these defenses that you created for stress are not actually coming from the outside world. It didn't actually come from the fight. It came from your fear of what the fight would mean about your safety. So the power that you have is in the relationship to your own responses to things. And those show up in your thinking. And the good news is that you have an internal guidance system. It shows up as a lump in the throat, anxiety, stress, worry, fear, feelings in the chest, or a sick rock feeling in the solar plex area. When you feel any of that, that means that your response in the moment, the thinking that you have in that moment, is not going to be successful. Now, and this is important, that it's not actually the outside world that's creating the response. It's the way you're thinking about the outside world. Now, for some people, that can be really bad news because it's like, but I don't like to be wrong. And it is absolutely this other person that is treating me poorly or being bad, or it's absolutely my financial situation, or it's absolutely the place that my boss keeps putting me in at work that's having me feel this way. But it's not. It's the way you're thinking about these situations that creates the suffering inside of your own body. Now, the reason why this is super important, okay, is that this is actually really good news. You have control over your own thinking. Now, I know that most people don't know how to control their thinking, and at first it can seem really crazy and like you don't even know what you're thinking, but that's what I'm here for. I'm here to give you all the cheat codes you need in order to bypass the thinking that's creating suffering in your life and disempowering you, and to support you through exercises, through being able to give you prompts on how to get out of this closed thinking, to regain your power in all of these situations, to step up as a leader of your own life, and to be able to feel confident and self-assured that you can handle anything that is thrown at you in a way that feels grounding, discerning, and with wisdom. And if you're interested in checking that out, go to befearfreenow.com and check out what we have to offer there. It's all explained Super short, super simple, and super easy and super affordable. And then you can join me in being able to revamp your entire life by learning how to work with your thinking in the moment while the shit's hitting the fan. Okay? That's what we're doing. All right. So we have Sky here today, and we're going to go ahead and bring her in. Hello, Sky.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
You're catching me with bedhead, but I don't care. It's like this is the way it is.
Okay. What can I do for you?
Um, so a combination of um, I it's getting down to the wire with my properties, and I also have a possibility of there's just so many things that I could ask the IGS. There's a possibility of a psilocybin clinic to rent my commercial space.
Okay.
And that is somewhat, it's not officially, like in Canada, you can sell legally, but of course you need a license and it's not easy to get marijuana. But psilocybin is not the same thing. It's magic mushrooms. And by the way, I don't do any of that. It's just I'm a landlord. Somebody wants to rent my space. So I'm open to that possibility. But I'm I'm trying to, you know, just I found out 2 days ago that there's somebody looking at renting the space, but I need to know if my IGS thinks it's a good thing.
So
Um,
here's the thing. So the problem that in that I've seen for you in
mhm.
your life is you make fear-based decisions out of lack. And in making the fear-based decisions, I don't have enough. I'm going to do it as cheap as I can. I'm going to skirt the rules. I'm going to do all this. Then your life goes, it's Murphy's Law. Okay. So what of misintention is what I call it. Okay. And so what it is I'm going to try to fix this problem by doing this shortcut or not getting what I really want and instead like going for the thing that I think I have to do because I don't have enough money. And then your car blows up or the person screws you over or all these different things happen because you don't go for the real true thing that you want because you're afraid you can't get it. And you do this other thing instead. So you have to be very careful of not making decisions out of lack because you're afraid of not having enough. You're already closed. Lack is always the feeling of lack, the feeling of not having enough is always closing, which means those thoughts aren't true, but you're acting on them. The only issue I have is I don't know how it is in the United States that I would be concerned about is if it is illegal in Canada. In the United States, if you have illegal things happening on your property as a landlord, they can take your property. I don't know how it is in Canada, but they
Well, I
really can,
asked.
especially when it comes to drugs. So I wouldn't want you to get yourself into another situation where now you've got
No,
this property wrapped up in a lawsuit or a legal situation going on with the government, and now you further can't sell it, can't do anything. I mean, it can get worse.
yeah, it can. I spoke to my lawyer yesterday about it, and he said there was another landlord in London where I live who'd had issues with it, but that in the end he said it was all on the tenant and not the landlord's responsibility. So I guess I'll have to talk to
Do
my
you hear what
lawyer.
you're saying? You're willing to take a chance of putting yourself into a bad position because you're afraid of it not renting to somebody who's legal. Are you grasping the problem with the thinking that's causing the spiral of bad things happening to you? Okay. The biggest mistake I made in my life that got us into $1.2 million worth of personally secured debt with a company was getting pushed out of a commercial space and closing at renting another commercial space. But I had 45 employees and I had to figure out where to put them. And I kept opening to stay where I was at, but everybody kept threatening me I couldn't stay where I was at. And I ended up signing a lease, and the whole thing just was the worst thing that I ever did. And it was because I felt obligated and pushed because of financial issues and company business issues. And I should have never followed that thinking, but it was too much pressure for me. Right. And now and literally a week after, the landlord came to me from the space that we were supposed to be getting out of and said, "Can you please stay?" because the whole situation in the city changed. The dot-com bust happened, and he's like, you can stay now. And we had already spent $90,000 a month. We were already locked into a $90,000 a month contract. Okay. So if I had just listened to my IGS and waited, it would have all worked out. Okay. And so that's kind of the situation that you're in right now, is this big and dramatic is how it feels. And so you're willing to go any direction you can to save yourself, and it's not going to work. It doesn't work that way. You're either going to have faith and get rid of the lack thinking and stick with, I don't know how, but I'm going to have what I need before I need it, and trust the miracle to come through if it opens you. Or you're going to follow your closed thinking. I'm in a sinking ship and I need to do anything I can to save myself. And you will get yourself into more trouble. It doesn't work. That thinking actually doesn't pan out to have a fruitful ending.
So my difficulty is feeling the IGS with these challenging thoughts,
No,
because
that's not true.
I thought I was open.
Your difficulty is in feeling the openings because you're getting closings, right? And so you think you're open. So let's look at it, okay? Because you were closed as you were talking about it being illegal, but it being not a big deal. That was closing when you were talking through that. So I want you to think about putting them in there. We're just going to go with, and this, just put that we're going to go with scenarios. You have to have,
Okay.
you have to be in motion. You can't just sit and ask one question. I want you to hold the thought that they are in there.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden the Canadian government comes down on them. That's a big possibility of it happening. Open, closed, or neutral.
Well, closed.
Does it feel closed? Do you feel
to
stressed?
think that the government or the city, or I don't know if it's provincially regulated. I think it's provincial, which would be like state.
Okay.
When I think of that, I think that they would be possibly in a position where they'd have to vacate, or they'd have to. My lawyer said that the other tenant in this situation that he'd heard about, they had to pay money or something, but that there was no responsibility to the landlord.
But here's my thing is you're still talking about taking on a risk.
Yeah.
Where you're not going to have a tenant anymore because they're doing something illegal in your space. And you know, before they even get there that they're doing something illegal. Why would you want to be a part of that? Because you're afraid that nobody else is going to rent it?
No. I don't want them to rent if it is illegal. What I need to know is, if it's a clinic, is it legal, as opposed to selling it? Obviously, selling it is not legal. But if it's a psilocybin clinic that provides supervised therapy with people who have a license, who are
Right.
trained, then if that is legal, then that would be obviously, better.
Then here's the other thing. You don't have enough information to even use your IGS because you obviously don't know what this is about. So that's not something you can bring. It's not something you can bring to me for us to coach on, because you don't know who these people are and what their intentions are even. But when you showed up and you said that you have an option to rent to them, and this is potentially it's not legal. It's what you told me just on the call. It's not legal. That's what I can coach you on. But regardless, you gave me a list in an email of things that had gone wrong in your life and you're wondering why. And if you go back and you read that list, it's because every single time you were trying to head off at the pass spending money. And I have found when you operate from a place of, I don't have enough, things go awry. I don't have enough to do it right. I don't have enough to build it right. I don't have enough to fix my car right. I don't have enough, right? Those things. So I'm going to do this halfway. I'm going to, I don't have enough. So, and if you're making decisions from that mindset, that is a closed mindset, and you will not have success.
So seeing it, sorry, go ahead.
So the key here is you have to put out a divine purchase order approved. You have to look at the situation where you believe that you don't have enough, picture how you want it to be, and keep working with it until you find the opening. Okay. And then wait for that opportunity or something better to show up. And follow your openings in flow to get there. Okay, so I talk about the woman who had brought back property taxes and they were sending letters that they were going to take her property, right? And every time she went to pay the property taxes off, which would have wiped out her savings, she was closed. Her divine purchase order approved was to keep her savings and be able to pay off the taxes. And that is actually what happened in the end. By refinancing her house, getting a way lower interest rate, wrapping the taxes into the loan, she had an extra $700 a month and they were paid off and her savings account got to be saved. So she still had her rainy day fund.
Yeah,
Now, in the moment,
yesterday. Oh, go on. I don't mean
I
to
was
cut
just
you
going to
off.
say in the moment, she didn't believe that that was even possible because her mind couldn't conceive of any way that that could happen. She was retired. She's on a fixed income. There's just no way that her mind could conceive of it. But that doesn't matter. If there is an opening that possibility is the path, right? You have to stay with that until it transpires. You can't get afraid and dramatic and then run off and try to fix it yourself with some halfway solution. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do, but I find that it's so complicated that I don't know. I don't know
It's
how to
not.
pull this off.
That's right. You don't know how to pull it off because it's not going to be coming from you.
That's true.
It's coming from a God, divine intention that's actually always operating in your behalf. And if you don't get in the way, it will solve these things for you. So my point is this: it sounds to me like you need to go do more research on what this company is before
Oh
you can
yeah.
actually, right? Second of all, don't take just anybody because you're afraid.
No, and that I agree. I agree
Yeah,
because it can get a lot worse. Yeah, absolutely.
it can. And
Oh
then
yeah.
take it one moment at a time. And personally, for me, if I was in your shoes, I would be like, no, I want it to be legit. I want them to have tons of money. I want them to be able to pay a year in advance if they need to. I want their business to be thriving. I want this completely stable and off my mind. And I would want that for everything that you're renting. And you actually step forward
Got
into this.
a realtor trying to call me
So
at the same
you
time, so
step
I
into this.
apologize.
That's okay. You step into the situation, and that's how you look at it. Does this fit the criteria of the type of candidate that opened me that is going to be in this space? And if it
Hmm.
doesn't, hard. If it doesn't, you say no and you wait. I have found that as we're creating, there's a lot of almosts. Whether it's somebody who's looking for a new mate and they put out a divine purchase order approved, find their openings about who this person is, and they're like, but 9 out of the 10 things on my list he has. Nope, don't do it. He's not it. Say thank you, but no thank you. And you move on to the next person. And you just wait because he will show up and it'll be almost right until it's actually right. Same thing with, people looking for a new place to live or a house. But it's got all of this except don't do it. That's not what opened
Wow.
you. What opened you was this is what opened you. You wait for it. And it never failed. It's always ends up being that or something better. It's when you get afraid and go, it can't happen. I'm going to take over and just take the second best that things go wrong. And that's the piece of faith. That's what our spiritual journey is about. All this stuff you're in, Sky, is not about the actual rentals and the properties and your income and your retirement. No, it's really about your spiritual journey of can you trust? Can you have faith? Can you hold out for what's actually there for you? Instead of getting afraid, taking the reins, trying to control the situation, and then making decisions that aren't right out of fear. That's what we're all in.
So, but how do I know that the universe wants me to keep these properties and succeed? And is it
Well, because
automatic that?
no, you've used your IGS on several calls. You've gotten the answer that it opens you to keep the properties. That's how you know. You said it opened you when we talked about, and we've already checked this out, and maybe you should go back and watch them again so you can see for yourself where you were. And if it's changed, you'll be able to feel it. But it's from actually, you said that you were open at keeping the properties, which means that there is a solution and renters and the right thing coming to you.
I've had 70 applicants for at least, if not 80 applicants for the one bedroom that we're repairing since they vacated in middle of December and
Mm-hmm.
made it really messy. They damaged a lot of things. And it's like the ones that hit all the check marks don't get back to me. And the ones that, like you said, are either not hitting the check marks or all but one are the only ones, and I'm still holding out. But oh
Good.
my god, yeah, thank you.
Yes.
But oh my god, it's constant this
Right
sticking
now,
out for the divine purchase order.
it is right now, but you'll get used to it. And eventually, as you continue using your IGS, you're going to find it gets easier and easier and easier. And that is the difference. That is the difference, is that you'll get to a place where you will stop trusting this as having the answers, and you'll actually begin to be able to trust that your deep wisdom and discernment and knowing is all that matters. And that is the difference between being at the whim of circumstances in your life and being the leader of your life. That is the difference between people who are doing extremely well in business and the people who are failing, is that they have, I mean, look at Elon Musk. If there's a few people out there that if you read their biographies, it's pretty incredible. Elon Musk has been a multi-millionaire, billionaire several times and then back down to zero and had no money to even pay for his SpaceX team. And yet he was absolutely 100% sure that this was going to continue and that he could make it to Mars. The reason why he can catch a rocket ship with a pair of tweezers, basically, is because he could feel in his IGS that he could do it. And so he doesn't stop because he knows. And he even talks about, I know it's going to work. So he doesn't quit because he's like, I know it's going to work. So why would I quit if I know it's going to work? That is the difference. And it's in trusting yourself. Learning to trust yourself is what you're doing. Learning to be able to take that mind when it's throwing you into panic and fear and say, shut up, I'm not listening to you. I actually open that this is the outcome and I'm sticking with it until it arises. And that is what you're learning as a
Oh,
soul.
it's
And it's hard.
so
It
challenging.
is in the beginning, but the good, hold on, sorry. But the key is there's respite in going back to your opening. You can choose to spin out into your closing and freak out and it's not going to happen and I can't see it and I don't know where it is and this person didn't work out and they didn't get back to me. You can go out on your craziness, or you can, which is closing, or you can be like, I'm not going to go into the closing. This is what opens me. Think about what opens you and stay with what opens you and be like, oh, okay, that's not true. And
That's
what opens me is that this is true, and stay there. And
okay.
your
That's what
mind
I've
flips
been
that.
doing.
Good. Just keep doing it. You're reprogramming the
Wow.
neural pathways of your brain away from stress, away from panic, away from terror. And that's
Oh,
how
okay.
you
That's
do it.
cool. Because in the beginning, in the fall, before I was getting coaching, I was telling my psychiatrist that, or even in the summer, that the feeling of panic was making. How do I just explain it? It's as though when you have an anxiety disorder, it's as though um, you are avoiding if you're not having the anxiety, you're avoiding the obvious. And so it's actually, making you think that you should be having the anxiety. And it makes you think that if you just push it aside and say, no, I want to feel good today, that you are actually kind of ignoring an obvious danger. And it's very difficult to do that. But yesterday, and not just yesterday, but a number of days now, I do go, you know what? I don't want to feel that way. And there's a side of me that feels that I can imagine things coming together. I can visualize it. I just
That's what I want you to be doing.
oh, okay.
Do that. It's
Okay,
not
so
just
just do it.
magical, or not, it is not magical thinking. If it is something that is dire, that's unpleasant, that's coming to you, it will open you. You'll feel a sense of discernment and peace about it. Just like I did when I felt the cancer lump in my breast, just like I did when my brother had disappeared and I held the thought, I'm never going to see him alive again. And I opened. Okay. Just like I did when it was time for me to hospice my business, and it opened me that it was time to quit. If it's something that is really challenging, and there's many more that students have gone through, and when you get the opening to something unpleasant, it's quite shocking, because you're like, wow, you don't feel afraid, you feel competent, and you have a deep sense of knowing that there's actions that need to be taken because this thing is coming and we're going to handle it. Okay. So, but the thing I want to say is the feeling that if I'm not anxious, something bad is going to happen because I'm not paying attention to bad things happening, comes from your childhood. Between the ages of 0-7, you watch somebody freak out about things over and over again, with the intention of, if I can just pay attention to every possible thing that goes wrong, it won't happen. But that's not how it works. And that creates havoc in your body. It just totally destroys your health. It destroys your quality of life. It destroys everyone around you, your relationship with them, because you're driving them crazy.
Yeah.
With your panic and your terror. You can't trust yourself. It's just not the way to live. And I'm here to tell you, and this is a very disrupting conversation, anxiety is closing, meaning what you're thinking is not true, and it is not going to happen. Yes, there are anxiety issues that are chemical, but there are so few of them compared to the level of anxiety that our society is holding. And truly what it is recalibrating your thoughts back to the opening and learning how to stay there by reprogramming the neural pathways of your brain. And the opening is what reprograms the neural pathways of your brain. That nervous vagus system response, okay, is what stops you from, and you're already having it because you said, I don't want to feel this way today. I'm not going to do this today. And you were able to shift that and not go into anxiousness. And that's exactly how you do it. And eventually, and by eventually, I only mean 6 to 8 weeks, if you keep going as intensely as you are, you won't have the anxiety. It won't be true for you anymore. You'll have little moments of like an anxious closing. You'll check the thought, you'll get back into the opening, and you will not be considered an anxious person anymore. You will no longer say my anxiety, because it's not. It's just my guidance is telling me that that's not what's going on, and I'm going to put my thoughts over here.
Cool.
Now, I don't know why you're in the thick of it, because you're definitely in the thick of it, girlfriend. But I trust that you need this level of crash course in how to use your IGS and reprogram your nervous system. Usually it means that you're going to need it for something important and big that's purpose driven. You're only given the next thing that's in the way of your greatest opportunity coming.
Okay, what can you back up to what you just said? So usually it's going to be for something big that's coming?
Usually.
So are you saying, because I've been wondering if this is prep work for the upcoming, because I mean, I listen to a lot of underground news, and I think you and I are probably on the same page with that. I believe in the pandemic and that the deep state and etc.
Well, it
Have
doesn't
an
necessarily.
agenda.
So, even that, it has to open you those ideas, right? And some of them, I consider myself a conspiracy analyst, because I go and look at things and I check my IGS and see what really feels true.
Oh, cool.
And I follow, my guidance on that, on how to respond and care for me and mine. But the biggest thing around it is not so much that, but you have a contribution to make as Sky that only you can make. You matter. And from what I've seen, you've been so caught up in survival and trying to outrun dire consequences and fear and crashing into the abyss emotionally, that you haven't even had a chance to think about why you're here and who you're here to help and serve and what it is that's super important for you to be doing. Otherwise, because we can't do it without you. So as you clear up all this panic and this terror, what you're going to find is that something else is going to emerge that you're going to be able to focus on. and it'll be beautiful, and it'll be a passion, and it'll be something important, and others will need it. I see this kind of thing with people often when they get off their path and they've got to catch up. They've got to get back to listening to their discernment and their wisdom so they can follow their true course in life. And it looks like it's this, like the world around them is on fire and they're in the apocalypse, but really quickly it all dissolves and they realize through the wisdom and the courage and the strength and the faith they have in their own discernment now that they were just needing to be shuffled to a different space in their life. You may not be working as a popsicle factory very much longer. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. But that's when I go, like what you just said about maybe I'm on the wrong path. That's why the brain says, oh, maybe you shouldn't have these properties. And then I think to myself, okay,
does it open you? Are you open right now? It never stops working.
No, it's closed.
Then don't go there.
Oh, okay.
You're going working yourself up again. Being off path, okay, it's not something that's really truly, you're not able to get too far off your path. It's like those bumpers on a bowling alley for little kids, okay? So that the ball has to stay on the lane and not in the gutter. But you can be on a more optimal path. You're still learning no matter what. The lessons are still coming through. You can either learn them quickly or you can learn them smoothly and more gracefully. You will get to a place where you're learning them more gracefully, but right now you're learning them quickly. It feels to me like you're in a crash course. That's what opens me. Just trust it and stay with flow.
I keep saying, I want to get off, stop the ride.
You don't. You don't.
No? You don't. Okay. Because it's incredibly scary. It's been very frightening for 2 years. And I've reached the point where I don't know where I'm going to get the money in April to meet all the mortgages, taxes, and other.
So hold on. So first of all, let's reconfigure that again. Okay. It's been really scary, which means you've had a lot of thoughts that aren't true.
Thank you.
In the past 2 years, you've been buying into false evidence appearing real. Okay. Right. So you've had 2 years of BS thoughts that your mind's been trying to terrify you with because that's your programming from being a kid. Yeah. And now you're starting to unravel that. Right. And let's just go back and we're going to end the coaching here because I don't want to keep reinforcing you going into closing with, yeah, but Zen, we're not going to do that.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to stay with the openings we found. But the key here is this. Okay. I want you to hold the thought again. I keep thinking, I want to get off. I don't want to do this anymore. Hold that thought again. Does that open you?
It feels like an excitement. I get an excitement in the solar plexus.
What did you think?
There's a thrill. There's a part of my soul. Yesterday, I was speaking to my higher soul, and I thought, for the first time in my life, because I don't usually think about speaking to my higher soul, but I'm starting to think that there's obviously there is a higher soul, right? And I'm starting to think that my higher soul is having a good time, even though I'm scared to death. My higher soul is going, yes.
I wanted to make. That is the whole point that I was trying to make by having you go back and check that, because you're going to find you really don't. You're here for the roller coaster.
Oh my God. What have I done? What have I selected before coming here?
Right. I know, right? It's more about learning how to enjoy the roller coaster than it is about I chose the wrong thing, or I don't really want a roller coaster, or it's not about that. It's really about, so there's another thing that, I think you're almost to the place of being ready for. So I'm just going to share it with you.
Okay.
And I want you to check your IGS as I'm saying this. Okay. Just feel into your own IGS. We're always safe.
That's what I've been saying to myself, including yesterday when I was talking to my higher soul.
We're always safe. It's always okay. Our minds may try to make up this huge I love the acronym FEAR, false evidence appearing real. They try to make up this big old story about how we're not safe and it's not okay. But the reality is we're always safe and we're always okay. And it can be very difficult. I've talked to people who've gone through some incredibly heinous, horrible experiences. And they too say, yes, in those moments, there was something that came through that was like protection and safety and this and it's a very interesting. I talked to a person who went through the genocide in Rwanda and about this and they're like, yes, all this is going on, and then there was some presence that just showed up, and it was very interesting. And so you'll get to a place where this becomes so real, knowing that you're always safe, that it allows you to play more, and it allows you to be full out, and it allows you to stop, not take these things, and the times in my life where the evidence appearing real got so loud that I was about to be like, okay, I'm totally wrong. I am not safe. This is not real. It's all BS. I'm full of it. Within 24 hours, it sorted itself out. And I always felt like an idiot not trusting that last second of the experience. I started to break down and not trust. And then it went through and I'm like, dang it, I feel like such an a-hole just not believing. I know better. And I was closed thinking that it's not going to work out. I was closed thinking that I'm full of it. I was closed thinking I'm not always safe. I was closed thinking my whole life's about to fall apart. But it was like so loud, so loud. But 24 hours later, it was fine. And it was miraculous.
I keep thinking I'm right on the edge of a breakthrough, but I've been thinking that for 6 months. Like, how long is this agony going to go on?
6 months, as long as it takes for you to fully trust. Not be attached.
So, with regards to should I sell one of my properties or not, the one that I yesterday got a second mortgage on, which has not left me any money to spend. It just went to the credit
So
debt.
now you're going right back.
I'm going right back. So that's the pattern. Okay, I need to recognize this pattern.
You need to recognize that you get the information and then you go back to being dire, and then you get the information and you go back to being dire. Now, your mind goes back to being dire because it was trained that way. It was trained that way between the ages of 0 and 7. It's your stress theme. Have you started Stress to Happiness?
Have you started I've done this. I've been on that 2 weeks ago, the stress theme.
Good. So one of your stress themes is, as soon as I get relief and feel the opening of what's true, my mind goes, I'm not going to let you go there. The world is still Chicken Little. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. And you go, no, that's my stress theme. Back to the sky is falling. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick with my openings that I know are true. And I'm going to build on those thoughts. You build on the thoughts as this is all going to work out. You build on the thoughts as I don't have to. It'll open you that you don't know how, but it's happening. Do you see what I'm saying? And you stay in flow, because that's when the miracles happen. The next right thing will show up, and the next right thing will show up. You stay focused on the present moment. What is it that I'm here to do right now? You do the thing you're here to do right now. When the Chicken Little starts pecking you in the head, you go, no, that's my stress theme. It's never true. I'm not going to torture myself anymore. And that's what the stress theme conversation is about, is because you wake up out of it because you're like, no, this is the thing I do. I'm not doing that one anymore. And that's
so keep
the challenge.
Doing the thing you mentioned earlier, which is like 20 minutes ago, you said, that's what I want you to do. When I just go, no, I want to feel, I don't want to feel that way today. I want to feel calm and like I can picture this happening. Yes. So just go back to that, fight my stress theme with that. Okay. And that builds neural pathways.
Yes. And don't fight it, release it. So what I mean by that is, remember, this is the puppy in the box, right? Your mind is like a box of puppies, and the puppy's job is to try to get away and explore. And so if a puppy gets out of the box, you don't take the puppy and you go, stupid puppy, and throw it back in the box. No, you're like, come here, little guy, rub it under its neck. You got to stay in the box. That's where it's safe now. You stay there. And that's what you do with your mind. Your mind goes, rah! And you go, no, come on, right back here. Just stay over here where we know what's true, where we can feel what's true. I'm not doing that. So don't fight it, because it's going to do it. It's until the programs are new, the neural pathways are reprogrammed. Because in a period of time, your mind is going to start going to the opening on its own. It does want you to feel better. It's just that if I don't pay attention to everything that could possibly go wrong, programming from your childhood was very loud. And so all you're doing is you're just slowly dismantling it. It'll come to a place where someday, in a year or two, you're going to see somebody that feels and seems a lot like you, where you are right now. And you're going to go, oh my God, I totally remember that. I don't do that anymore. I totally remember being where you're at. Oh, I'm sorry. It sucks. It's really hard, but you can get through it.
You can get through it if you know how.
Well, and you'll tell the person how to get through it. You know what I'm saying? So that's my point.
Yes.
It's like, you'll start noticing that you don't do that anymore, but it'll have been so natural that you're out of it that you have to see it on the outside and be like, wow, I forgot I used to do that. I'm not that person anymore. All right.
Yeah.
Watch this
Wow.
again.
Oh,
Watch your,
I do. I
yeah,
find it
watch
sometimes
yourself.
I'm having trouble finding it on the internet. Like, are we in SoundCloud? Are we in obviously YouTube? But the
So the
YouTube
YouTube,
list doesn't always show up all the videos. It
no,
shows only select ones.
we pull them down and we chop
Oh,
them up,
okay.
and then we put them
And
back so
edit
that
them.
people just
Yeah,
gets, yeah. And
I
then
have
if you
seen
want to
that.
see
Yeah.
it on Rumble, it's full. See, on Rumble, on LinkedIn, and on X, it's the full episode.
I didn't know you were on Rumble. What is it? Fear Free Human?
Yep.
Oh, good, because I'm on Rumble too.
We're
I
also
mean, I
on
watch it.
Facebook. We don't cut up Facebook, but we cut up Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're on like 19 different platforms now.
I requested joining the two Facebook groups.
Yeah, we don't manage those. Those are actually going to be shut down.
Oh,
Everything's
so
happening inside the Fear for Human collective community.
okay.
Yeah, I
But
can't
if I
manage.
go
We,
to
we don't want to you do
no, there's too
comments
many.
everywhere and all. It's too much. Yeah.
I
So
agree. I
everybody
like
get into the community. Yeah.
it's too scattered and yeah. So all right, that's good. Excellent. Thank
Okay,
you
good.
very much.
You are very
All right.
welcome. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you were doing great.
Oh, thank you. That's good. And oh, to stop beating myself up because you know how the mind wants to go back to, oh, but there's this issue
It's
I'm
just
worried about.
it's
And
its
then I
job.
beat myself up. Like,
Don't do that.
or when my truck got hit last week and I beat myself up.
Okay, so the prompt, I'm talking about this as like artificial intelligence. How do you give prompts for your divine intelligence? The prompt for anytime anything goes wrong, okay, is I don't know how, but it's going to end up being the best thing that could have happened. Stay there. It'll open you.
Okay.
It'll open you. Okay. I don't know how it's going to end up being the best thing that could have happened. I had a person their car was completely a disaster. They were doing sales. They used to park it around the corner because they didn't want anybody to see that they had such a horrible car. And one day they went out and they were walking around the corner, and the person was out walking their dog that they had just did a sales thing with. And they're so embarrassed. And the guy walks up and he's like getting into the car. And the sales guy was like, "Oh, this is your car." And it goes, "Yeah." It was a real beater. He went to turn it on to like escape as fast as he could, and the car caught on fire.
Oh
It just
my
went up
God.
in flames, and he was like, "Oh my gosh!" And he
I
said,
feel his pain.
I don't know how this is going to end up being the best thing that could have happened, but it is." And he opened, what ended up happening is the insurance came through, and they didn't know how bad the
Oh.
car was, and it was valued way higher than he thought. So he got a new car, and he was able to pay off his credit card
Oh wow.
because they didn't
My
have
other
any idea that like the car was like, so it had smoke and it backfired, and it was just, the car was just falling apart. It was really funny. But my point is this: it doesn't matter how bad it looks. I've even had people who've lost their houses in fires,
yes.
and they come out of it a year and a half, 2 years later, and they're like, it sounds crazy, but it was a gift.
Yeah, you were
So,
mentioning that recently. I've heard that a couple of times from you.
and it's been that way in my life too. So when something like you get rear-ended or an accident happens, stop in the moment and declare it, because I talk about manifestation, and like there's the observer effect where there's quantum material, and depending on how a human being looks at it and determines what it's going to do, it will show up. Like the quarks will pop in and out of alignment, or they'll spin, or they'll do whatever the person's looking at. And it was very frustrating for the scientific community because they're arguing about what they were looking at in this quantum, through these quantum microscopes, and they were all seeing something different, as because they all had different expectations based on their theories. Well, what that means to me is you get an opportunity as the observer to take that quantum material and direct it immediately with your judgment. And if you have the judgment that this is going to end up being the best thing that could have happened, it opens up the way for miracles. If you go into an immediate thing of shame-based, what's wrong with me? Why do I keep attracting these things? My life is horrible. Now I don't have a car. I can't afford this. Everything sucks. I'm so embarrassed. I don't even want to tell people this happened to me because they're so sick and tired.
I'm such a loser.
I'm so sick and tired. Everybody's so sick and tired of all my drama and all my problems, and I can't take it anymore. Right?
Oh my God!
What's gonna happen. You're gonna have a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Well, maybe that's what. So how do I stop it all? How do I stop the self-fulfilling prophecy of that I'm such a loser?
I just gave it to you. The prompt.
Okay, just go back to feeling like this is solvable.
I love the thought of, like, when working with artificial intelligence, you have to have the right artificial intelligence. You have to have the right prompt. Okay. And that's all I teach is how do you get the prompt going in the mind to create the opening? Because as soon as you have the prompt going and the opening starts, that's the divine intelligence coming in and working in your life. So instead of artificial intelligence, it's a divine intelligence that's moving you. And the prompt for any time anything goes wrong or you don't have enough is, I don't know how it's going to end up, but it's going to end up being the best thing that could have happened. Or in lack, I always have what I need before I need it. I've never had somebody hold those prompts and not have the opening begin. Then you get to be in divine fascination, which I love, which is the energy of, I'm excited to see how this is going to play out. Something magical is happening around me, and I get to witness it.
I keep saying to people, that this is going to make an amazing story and a success story.
Mm-hmm. And that opens you. You're doing it. That's the exact same thing that we're talking about. Okay.
Amazing.
Definitely put this one on replay. Just keep this one going for a few days. Okay.
I will. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Bye, Sky.
Bye.
All right. So we're done with our show for today. If you are interested in participating in this, I want to invite you to go to BeFearFreeNow.com, BeFearFreeNow.com. And there, what you'll find is we have a 14-day trial. The prompt thing that I was talking about, you get 14 days worth of how to work with your internal guidance system with these kinds of prompts that create going from stress, worry, anxiety, overwhelm, frustration, irritation in your life, guilt, overwhelm, procrastination. All of them are handled in the first 14 days. It's free trial. You do have to choose between one of two membership opportunities. One is $47 a month and the other is $97. You can cancel before the 14 days are up. We do ask that you cancel before the 14 days are up. We don't do refunds if you forget. But come do the 14 days. Notice how your entire life will start to transform when you move from this opening to this closing, when you learn to work with the divine intelligence that's within you, always guiding you on how to think about the world around you in a way that's going to be successful in your relationships, with your health, with your body. Okay. There are thousands of students that I've taught this, over 40,000 people now, and their lives are working because they know what to do. They have the spiritual principles and practices that no matter what comes up at work, no matter what comes up at a family event, no matter what happens from cancer and debilitating diseases all the way through losing their jobs and creating the abundance in their lives, they have the information they need to be able to listen, drop into the wisdom and discernment and walk the flow path of divine intelligence. So go to BeFearFreeNow.com, check it out. It's completely amazing. I'll see you there. And in the meantime, I'm sending you love and blessings. Go forth and have an incredible day. Mwah! Bye for now. I'm back on Sunday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.